Welcome to Laricy Live. You want to know what's happening in the real estate market? Then this show is for you. I'm your host, Matt Laricy. So, we are here to talk about what is going to be a new release of a latest development, what we are now rebranding as Noir. And we have the developer with us. Patrick, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
I'm Patrick Buck. I'm the managing director of Terrace Real Estate. Terrace was founded in 2013 as an offshoot of a family office that was located in Chicago. We've done developments, single-family homes, townhomes in Chicago, warehouses here, and that's where our primary focus is. We've also done a lot of European developments as well.
So you've been kind of around the block a little bit, we could say. How did the 900 West, which we're now going to be rebranding to Noir, come about? How did this project come to fruition?
This came out about 2013, is that we found a piece of property that was on foreclosure in the West Loop there. And we purchased it knowing that we wanted to build the building there. Not sure what we were going to do yet, but we knew the West Loop was up and coming. So we bought it, used it temporarily for storage for a few years for our business. And then as we kind of developed the idea and we saw how it was kind of progressing how we thought, we wanted to build a building in the West Loop that was unique, not to the above the usual standards that everybody had seen over the brick warehouses. We wanted to make something that was really more of a New York style loft building.
So it's kind of funny that you said that in 13 you thought that maybe the West Loop might be up and coming because for a lot of people right now, they're younger that live there, think like, oh, the West Loop's cool and hip. But I remember in like 11 and 12, it wasn't that cool. There was like a lot of vacancies, and there wasn't really as much over there, anything like there is today. So what made you foresaw that, flash forward to today, that you'd have the full market, you'd have all the restaurants on Randolph and stuff?
That goes back. I moved actually to the West Loop in 2004, so I'd been watching everything, going to the restaurant since the late 90s. So I kind of saw how the progression was going, how things were moving, and then one of the first buildings that was up the street from me, I think it was like 2008-9, was replaced the God, I can't remember what this was.
Down the street?
The Urban League. Replaced the Urban League property. Yeah. That was one of the first ones that I started to see the shift and more developers come over because the land was still reasonably cheap. Yeah. You could pick buildings up for a good price and actually make money as a developer in building them. That was our outlook on what we saw. We didn't foresee the whole Sterling Bay side of it coming in. That was like after what we saw, but
it definitely helped.
It did help, and that helped us kind of frame our opinion as I was looking at a bunch of different properties over there to buy and redevelop.
When you were trying to get the development for the building, what was the biggest challenge you guys faced on that?
Well, the biggest challenge there was just getting through the local community groups and trying to push the height, design limits. They were used to a lot of the brick buildings, and some of the initial feedback we got from the community groups was just, they didn't like the design was just too weird for them.
A little bit too modern at the time. Is height restrictions is good that you bring up because it's a big thing that you read about in Cranes and some of the other tribunes and stuff like that about people are getting very upset with how many buildings now are going up with the heights. Were you in one of those challenges right away up front?
We were in the challenge. We had pushed originally for a higher building. We wanted to go about another 30 feet higher. We got pushed saying that the standards at the time in the West Loop were going to be 135 feet, and they didn't want to allow anything to be built higher. And right after our building was built, they basically lifted that cap and then redesigned everything on the Randolph corridor, saying this can all go higher, and we're going to
especially in Fulton, because now Fulton's got like skyscrapers almost.
Yeah, they've got buildings that'll go 280 feet high up there now.
So maybe you guys set you were the guinea pig to let everybody else get better zoning after the fact.
We got beat up quite a bit on the whole thing, but we were like, we're going to do a really nice, clean looking building, and we went through some different iterations, worked with the alderman to get it done, but we felt what we were bringing to the neighborhood would kind of help move the market up.
What was the key inspiration that you guys had then when you're talking about that?
For us, we wanted something that was different than the standard brick buildings that everybody builds over there. Which was just like they're boxes, squares. Our building is still boxy, but we wanted the floor-to-ceiling windows that would, be more like a traditional warehouse that you did see in New York.
Right.
make it very clean, efficient, and cheap to operate for the unit owners.
So it does have kind of like a very New York vibe. I was saying it's kind of like Meatpacking District or Soho like, and it is something that's very unique to the neighborhood where everybody has been kind of going more lofty, and this one's a little bit more kind of modern. And how were you guys able to kind of execute that vision? Like what was it? What did it take to get from start to finish to be able to execute this?
It's an entire process working with the architect, which was, pulling up the designs from buildings that I've seen all over the world and saying, here's a bunch of, we basically started with a storyboard.
Yeah.
Work through it all, saying this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I mean, I've lived and gone through a lot of the buildings in the West Loop, and I just didn't want to do the simple browns and, standard buildings that these people put up. And so we wanted to make it efficient, do radiant heated floors, make it cheap for the unit owners to live in, put the high-end fixtures in there so their overall operating costs and how they would manage their day-to-day would not be run up on them.
Right. So, like, what do you think is probably some of the key design features that you guys came up with that are kind of unique to your building compared to some of the others in the area? Is it like heated floors and stuff like that, or?
I think the heated floors is really a key thing for us, because that's one of the things I think that's bugged us all for years, is that you go into a lot of these buildings and in the winter you hear that fan running all winter long, just
Right.
spinning in the unit. So that was one thing we know the hydronic floors are actually much more efficient to run.
Yep.
You turn them on and it keeps your unit at a constant temperature throughout the year. The other thing we've always noticed is sound. So we actually increased the sound resistancy of the windows from the standard, which is like around a 28 STC rating, and we pushed up to 34. So you would feel like you were in your own individual home. You're in the city, but what you got there, it was quiet. We spent money on the cooling system as well, just make sure that was a quiet system. So we went above the standard system, and we put a Carrier Infinity system in there, which has a heat pump in it, which can provide supplemental heat if you need it, but it's much quieter than a standard system.
So these are key points because with Chicago being cold 6 months a year, you have heated floors throughout, which is huge, and you don't have to spend as much on the energy. And a lot of people in a busier location can be nervous about how loud things are. And when you have windows that are essentially 30% more quiet than your competitors, it makes a big difference. And lastly, with COVID being a big problem in shared air, I mean, it's pretty much like having a mask on your furnace to make sure that you're getting clean air. And I think these are big things. And so, I mean, the upside is that you're in a location where you have every amenity that you would need that you'd like, right? You're close to gyms, you're close to the hottest restaurants, hottest bars, all the grocery stores are right there. You get on and off the highway. So essentially, it's going to attract as many different clientele as you could want because it has everything that anybody that wants to live in a city has. It's right outside your doorsteps. And it's in the West Loop has become this tech hub of our city. And you're in a stone's throw to McDonald's and Google and some of these other big businesses. All the hottest law firms are now moving over there. They're moving next to Gibson's Italian and stuff like that. And with tech being such a big drive of the type of clientele that are in the area, what type of technology did you guys put in the units? Because I saw iPads in there and stuff like that. What are the iPads that are just sitting on the walls doing?
So we put those in there. Those were to control those were access controls for the building. So part of the building was to make it a private building, so you could have your own little unit. It's like a house within the city.
Yeah.
So we had the house there. We installed the butterfly system outside, which allows you access controls with video for the building. You can also give independent keys.
Just to reiterate for everybody out there that doesn't know what Butterfly is. So Butterfly is essentially an app that you guys can have on your phone, and you could give out a code to anybody that wants access to it, and it could be a one-time code, it could be a long-term code. And if you get locked out, you can just pull up the app and swipe, and the door opens for you. So it's a big way that people are saving on costs. Door staff, as you know, is the most expensive part of any building when you run it.
Yes, and that's one thing we wanted to stay away from. We didn't want the doorman in there, so we basically had the butterfly system for the access controls, which tracks all your guests coming and going, all your package deliveries. Gave the guests the access to the units, so everybody's unit is on a private elevator access. You can't get up in the building. You can't stop at any other floors.
Yep.
They open up in the units. So that's part of what the technology is for. It was also the iPads were meant to hook into the HVAC system and the heated floors. You set those up there, set them on your schedule, however you want it to be done. And then we did outfit the windows. They're all piped out, so if you want to automate your shades in there, that can be done.
So it truly is, a smart home. And with people being home more often and being more tech forward, the technology in the building, essentially from your phone before you walk in the door, you can have the floors on, you can have the shades and lights to where you want them. You can have the HVAC system to be exactly at the temperature you want. And that's kind of where the world is heading. And a lot of the new construction buildings aren't thinking forward. And, it's almost, like that a lot of the buildings aren't realizing that the trends are the technology and people being more in tune with wanting to have more tech forward type of properties. It's even like that the building is completely LEED certified. What does LEED certified mean?
LEED certified is a combination of energy efficiency and using sustainable products in your building design. So when they come through, they have a grading. You start from it starts in the actual pre-construction period. It's like how you're picking your materials, how you're sourcing them, and you get points basically assigned to you for all these different products you bring into the building. So it's everything from how far do the products come to reach to get to the building, how did you do the insulation for the building,
right,
the windows, and there's a whole section of pest control, anything to do with associated with the building. They grade it all, and you basically have to put together all these pieces in the building. So our building was the first LEED Gold mid-rise building in the Midwest,
which is huge.
Certified, which is it's hard to get these things. It's easier to get the silver rating, but the gold and the platinum are very hard to get.
So it's the only LEED Gold in West Loop, or is it all?
For a residential building in the Midwest, it's the only LEED Gold mid-rise building.
Which is huge for anybody that's into, environmentalists or want to be more. All this stuff makes a big difference in a building that, people just don't realize how important it is. And there's a lot of followers out there that really are interested in the LEED certified buildings. And to get that gold approval is huge. And, with the area being so tech forward, it kind of fits perfectly with the type of clientele that are looking in the area. With that being kind of said, like, what about design choices? Like how you guys picked out on like the kitchens and stuff like that. Did you guys have any famous designers or anything help you guys with all this stuff?
On that, no. I mean, that was really done in-house by us. We had a lot of ideas what we wanted to do. So we wanted to make sure things were lasted, because we've seen in a lot of buildings the hardware and the cabinets that are installed, they don't last. So, and we also want to make sure that they were timeless designs. So we spent a lot of time.
But the cabinets are from like Merchmart stuff, right?
They're Merchandise Mart product. It's Scavellini, but we actually went to Italy, went to the factory, inspected everything, made sure how they were made, how long do they last. Really wanted to inspect the quality of them.
And that's a big difference, because a lot of developments right now are just building like custom cabinets. They're not using very well known stuff, and they, like you said, they do tend to deteriorate. They're all high grade, high end appliances. And they even did small things like that you don't see throughout a lot of the other buildings. Is can lighting is standard, which is an upcharge at most of the new construction right now. And there really wasn't that much need to have any upgrades, because things were all built out the way they should have been, right? There was no selection list.
There wasn't a whole lot of upgrades that were, pre-construction that were needed. I mean, I think the only thing that you really could go and spend money, you could do actually hanging pendant lights in your bedrooms, but that was more, you leave that up to the individual homeowners. And then it's designing out whatever smart home choices you want to be put in there, and then your closets. And the closets, we have a credit for that, and said, here, we'll give you this. We know what a standard closet, but we wanted to leave a few of those choices up for each individual homeowner to choose from, because it's a bit of personalization that people like to do.
Closets and window treatments are two things that unfortunately are never included in any new development, and it's just two things that are big that they've partnered with other companies, and there's companies that are out there that will specialize in helping do constructions, and they've partnered with AVDG to do all window shades and some of the media equipment and things of that nature. So, I mean, most of the stuff at the building is done. And the sales has been strong. I mean, there's now 11 units remaining. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there's only 11 units remaining. The prices are fantastic, and they are ready to move. You don't have to wait 2 years like some of the other new developments do in the area. And what other key points do you have, or any other thoughts on Noir that you'd like to add?
I think if you want to maintain your privacy but be in the West Loop and have a great place to live and a comfortable lifestyle, this is the type of building that somebody with that goal in mind should really seriously consider as a building to live in.
Yeah, and you guys can all learn more about Noir and the new release of the building by contacting me directly. And so make sure you guys hit the bell and tune into our next episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time on Laricy Live. Make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.